Accessing Secure Channel. The Agent Files, where aspiring agents rise and masters flourish. Powered by Agent Builder Coaching. Mission initiated. File loading.
Welcome back. Hi, this is Peter Fan for Agent Builder Coaching and for the Agent Files, the podcast for aspiring agents. Aspiring agents, those that have not quite decided whether or not a career in real estate is for them or not. So the reason for this particular series is really to help those agents that are, or maybe agents, to think through and really process what it might be like to be in a business like real estate. And I wish that this information had been available many, many years ago, because it was never really in the cards for any brokerage or the regulator to provide kind of insight as to what the real world of real estate is all about, even before you start into real estate. There's a lots and lots is written about, once you're started, but that's a little too late, right? So a lot of things you can actually prepare for. And one of those things is actually this particular section, which we refer to as the wow factor. But it's really about what the essence of real estate is all about, which is customer service, right? If you are able to provide, incredibly high levels of quality in your service, in your delivery of whatever it is that you do, even though not every transaction is going to be successful, if you did the very best you can possibly do for your clients will still appreciate and respect the fact that you made all the efforts possible to make it work for them and make that process as smooth and as comfortable and as high quality as possible. That's what this session is about. And how it relates to people kind of getting into or thinking about getting into the business is really important for you to kind of understand that it's a level, it's a layer of what real estate as a business is all about. And so you can learn lots and lots about customer service and how to deliver that in meaningful ways that have, frankly, nothing to do with real estate. Nothing. So you can learn a lot of this material by being observant, being attentive, and paying attention to what you see around. So let's dive in. After about 2 or 3 years in the business, you will find many realtors say that upwards to 80% of the business comes from repeat or referral business. Well, repeat business and referral business is earned. It's earned by delivering high levels of quality, high levels of results, high levels of service. And people absolutely kind of remember all of the feelings, how you made them feel in the process. Did you do the right things for them in their mind, not in your mind, but in their mind? You may have done all the right things, but if they didn't feel it, if they didn't get that connection, it still won't result in referrals or repeat business, right? And facts matter where it matters, right? On the amounts and dates and specifics, but how you make people feel through the process is significantly more important. So it is definitely one thing to pay attention to. So what is wow? Well, it's really going beyond expectations, doing the stuff that people don't necessarily expect, but are pleasantly surprised when it happens. Pleasantly surprised, right? Not negatively surprised. And let me tell you a story. Many years ago, somewhere around 1980, I'm going to say 82, 83, was the first time that I went to Disneyland. And I at the time, was still living in the Netherlands. And so it was my, I guess, first trip back to North America, but I visited Canada for a summer stint at one point in time prior to that, but had not actually gone to Disneyland at that point in time. But my second visit, so to speak, was a trip to Disneyland and surrounding areas and what have you. And just the the walking into Disneyland was really one of those wow moments, right? The first time. And then if you've been to Disneyland, you probably understand what I'm talking about. It is so different. It is so over the top, high levels of everything, energy, excitement, how they treat people, how they service situations. And overall, their quality, certainly at that point in time, and I can't speak of recent experiences because I haven't been there for the better part of 20 years now. So, but certainly at that point in time, it was by far, in a way, the most exciting experience as far as any kind of themed uh, environment. And I've been at a few different ones, but that was really over the top. And that's kind of what I mean by wow, right? I was paying attention to things there, and I noticed, right, how they were cleaning the streets and how people were being treated by, as they call them in Disneyland, cast members, staff, right, and so on and so forth. Now, do you see other stuff like that again and again in other places? Yeah, there's a shoe business more recently that called Zappos, and Zappos customer service online is just beyond belief, right? They're not the cheapest shoe store, and in that bracket of shoe businesses, there are definitely better prices that you can have, but there's nobody that's going to beat Zappos services, right? And that makes them stand out and generate repeat customers over and over and over. And what I would encourage you to do is to look up and look around and look for small and big businesses that are delivering, consistently exceptional service, exceptional quality, exceptional attention to detail where it matters. And see what you can learn, what you can pick up on those little things that people are doing. That maybe you can think about how you would incorporate some of those things in your practice, in your business, right? How would it affect you during an open house, for example, right? How would you greet people if you wanted to make sure that people remember you beyond the open house? If a potential home buyer goes to 20 open houses over a period of 3 or 4 weeks, how do you stand out in a positive way so that people remember you, so that they want to be dealing with you? Because, frankly, consumers going to open houses are not just looking for a house to buy. They're very much also looking to who they will be in business with to buy their home or to sell the home that they currently have, right? So it's a multi-purpose type of activity, and a lot of people don't think about it that way, but that's definitely the case. And I have to say, I've been fortunate enough to generate quite a few listings from me holding open houses in areas where people attended these open houses. And weeks, months, and sometimes even years later, they would still have my card or my fridge magnet or whatever we were giving out at the time and say, hey, we remember that you were doing an open house there and there, and we really liked how you did that. And we're now ready to buy or sell. So it's creating those memorable experiences that it's really about in the context of, delivering services. Now, can you learn this now? Absolutely you can. Customer service is not something that, just applies to real estate. It applies in life. You know, uh, there's a slogan out there, just be kind, right? That alone will make you stand out. Right? So lots of ways that you can practice this and apply this on an ongoing basis. So does it always have to be material? No. Personalized gifts are definitely a big deal if it fits into your business model. It doesn't have to always cost money. But celebrating particular milestones, your home purchase, home sale, wedding anniversary, birthdays, important days in the lives of the people that you're working with. Doing follow-up calls, getting in touch, staying in touch. The staying in touch part is so important. So many realtors make the mistake. And by the way, that's not exclusive to real estate, but car salesmen, insurance, financial services. So many people in those businesses make the mistake that it's all transactional. Right after the transaction, people are forgotten. Where for the consumer, it's very much relationships. Right? That's what you're aiming for. So annual market updates is a good instance where you can kind of connect the personal and the business. But there's other opportunities like your property tax assessments and so on and so forth. You can find reasons to stay in touch with people. Now the benefits are very straightforward. I mean, when you make it your job to look after your people, right, so that they benefit. This is not focused on your benefit, although that may be the ultimate outcome. The real key here is that you do it for their reasons, right? You giving, a generic gift to all your people without really thinking about whether or not that is appropriate for the people that you're giving it to, then you may actually doing yourself a disservice, right? Because you've not really paid attention to their situation. Still kind to give something, but it's, if it isn't genuine or it isn't really received in the same way that it was given, then you've really not helped yourself, is what I'm getting at. Obviously, if that lifetime loyalty is established, referrals will show up, right? It gives your business stability. Just imagine this for a moment, right? If you were in the business of selling real estate or widgets or financial services, it doesn't really matter. And your service was so good that you had, a good number of people going out of their way to find people to refer to you, right? They would make it a point of making sure that every time that they're in a social gathering and they hear something about whatever service that you provide, and they will immediately inject your name into that conversation. You think that might make a difference in your business? Of course it would, right? And if you can back it up with consistently being that high quality service provider, it's going to dramatically change your life, your business, and make your business that much easier. Right? In this session and in previous sessions, we always talk about that, upwards to about 80% of your business will eventually come from repeat and referral business. It may not be initially, but eventually it will be. That's huge, right? Because that's not business that you have to fight for. It really becomes that type of business where somebody will phone you and say, "Hey, John or Mary phoned me and said that I needed to be talking to you when I'm ready to buy or sell a property, and now is not time. So that's why I'm phoning." That's huge. Those are just incredibly, not only moments of gratitude and appreciation, but they can be financially life changing, right? So it's an important part of why high quality service and wow services are so important. So then, of course, how to avoid making those mistakes and to kind of start thinking about these things is ghosting clients after closing, right? So if you were to seriously think about getting into this business, you can already start thinking about these things as well, right? Who haven't I talked to for a while, right? Who in my sphere of influence, and we all have one, whether you like it or not, or whether you've got it documented or not, we all have a sphere of influence. So who have you not spoken to for a while? What conversations kind of stall in the middle, right? Well, maybe reconnecting or connecting with people and staying in touch, finding a reason to stay in touch. That in its own right can start establishing that rapport or reestablishing that rapport. And it will also train you to make you think strategically about all of the relationships that you have. Yes, I realize that that sounds salesy and somewhat contradictory to what I just said, but that is really not the point. The point is that you do it for their reasons. You stay in touch for they appreciate you being in touch with them and in relationship with them. That it has a benefit to you, it doesn't make it, you know, inconsistent or inconsiderate or no. You both benefit out of this, which is perfectly fine. And yes, forgetting personalization is kind of a key part of that, of course, right? And if you, by the way, if you every time that you talk to somebody, you ask for a referral, yeah, that's not a good idea because then it definitely is not genuine, right? If if you truly reach out and say, hey, you know, I was thinking about you. I noticed this or that. Is there anything I can help you with? Is there anything that you need? And it has nothing to do with real estate, right? It could be, you know, some other service or some other assistance, something that is genuinely to their benefit. You don't need to ask for referrals. You don't need to ask for business. That's it's not the time, not the moment, right? I hope that makes sense. All right. So yeah, closing gifts tailored to hobbies, interests. You know, there was many realtors that I know that kind of either, and I don't want to kind of guide it too much, but they there are a good number of realtors that classify their clients as to how connected they are with them, right? And so if you have people that you're really connected with, that isn't always family, it isn't always direct friends, but you have some real good connection, some real synergy. Well, those may be the people that you might want to do something special for. Right? Is maybe it's baseball, maybe it's going to a museum, maybe it is going fishing, maybe it is just going for a walk, right? Or looking after or helping them with something that is, you know, that they need and that you have an expertise or special skill sets for. Those are really important opportunities because it reestablishes, reconnects you with that real caring aspect of what this business sometimes is all about. Now, closing gifts are a good thing to do in general, and particularly when they're catered to what is your client's interest, of course. Post moving check-ins, right? A week late after a move, it's a good idea uh, to go back to your clients, have client appreciation events or one or some activity that is, you know, truly the client appreciation. If you, for example, if you are able in a local establishment to negotiate a discount for your clients, well, you make that known to your clients. You get nothing out of this. The small business that you are supporting gets something out of it, and your clients get something out of it, and you're remembered as being the good guy or the good gal, right? That's kind of the type of thing that we're talking about here. Hope that makes. So, you know, I would say that if you had 100 people in your sphere of influence and, you know, you provided wow level services, I'm tempted to say that 3 referrals a year is easy. And I've seen many examples of much higher than that. Okay. Now, by the way, wow service also extend to other realtors, right? One of the things that many realtors forget is this weird relationship that we have with other professionals in this business, right? They, for all intents and purposes, they are your competition, but can you live without them? Well, no, you can't. Particularly if you are living in a destination type location, right? I'm in Victoria, British Columbia, which is very much a destination location. But if you were in, I don't know, Prince George, or you were in Fort St. John. There's different reasons for destinations, right? Sometimes it's employment related, sometimes it's retirement related, sometimes it's a cultural thing, or sometimes it's just for affordability. So, and employment, of course, is a big deal. So if you are, for example, in a military town, Well, where do most of the military referrals come from? Well, it's a company that does that. So you need to be in relationship with that company. You need to be registered with that company, right? And then deliver excellent services, because the military members have the personal choice to make as to which of the 500 realtors that are registered with that company will they pick. Well, you can earn that business, right? And so on and so forth. So, many different ways that you can deliver wow. It's also easy to not do it, right? And so, therefore, without delivering exceptional services, you'll never know the business that you never got, right? You will never know. And or you'll sometimes find out after the fact. So if you sometimes hear or see people in your sphere doing stuff that you didn't expect, or work with other people, and you wonder why, well, don't blame them. Don't punish yourself either, but look at it analytically as a business person and say, hey, what can I improve? What can I do to not have that happen, or at least minimize it? It's not always preventable, by the way. There are people that are very principled about the fact that they will not work with family members or will not work with friends, which seems a bit odd. That I always question that one. I've actually said it to a few people. So you want to work with people that you hate? How does that make sense? You want to work with people that you don't trust? Please tell me that that doesn't make sense, because it doesn't. Anyway, but that's just a point aside. You do need to earn people's respect and trust. That doesn't come by default. You actually have to earn it, right? So what are your toolkits? Well, your toolkits are your CRM, your database, right? Your systems that you have in place, saying, hey, it's their birthday, it's their anniversary, it's the purchase anniversary, it's you know there's something special in the year that is important enough for you to reach out and connect with people. Now, I'm going to give you a bit of a scary one, but I'm going to give you the suggestion that there is upwards to about 30 to 35 interactions per year that are kind of the ideal number for people to continue to see you in the light that you would like them to see it. And it has to be on their terms, not yours. So you sending out, a new listing is not what they were looking for. Okay. You sending out more stuff about stuff that is not important to them is not helping. In fact, that will become counterproductive. So how do you continue to add value to the people that you want to work with? So a newsletter is one, right? That can be semi-generic, but at the same time can have some value as long as you provide information in there that is considered to be of value, right? That shouldn't be one topic, for example. Anyway, it's just one way. Now, if you haven't heard of Canva, then you need to learn about Canva. Canva is for all intents and purposes, an online marketing material platform in which you can create just about anything you can imagine, from print material to video material to online material to social media so it can help you dramatically in your marketing. And so become familiar with that. If you're not familiar with it, start thinking about, hey, what tools do I need to use? Well, Canva is definitely one. Client events are a really good way to give back to your clients. And whether that is for the holidays or whether it's for particular events. I know an agent here locally, for example, he does Easter egg hunts for the children, and it's open to anybody. But he has a specific client section, right, where they have a little bit of a perk, and so it's somewhat psychological, of course, because the people that get the perks, they get a little bit more of this and a little bit more of that, and makes it people feel special. The rest of the community is equally treated well, but there's definitely a little bit of kind of a perk program taking place there, right? And it's you see this happening in many of the retailers nowadays, and And it works. It has some real psychological impact on people, right? They want to be part of something. Well, then, you know, definitely it has a multiple use for that. But people have Christmas events. I know of realtors that reward people for sending referrals. There's realtors for that. They don't actually ask for the referrals, but they certainly reward them when they happen, which is kind of, how you teach a puppy dog, right? They reward good behavior, so to speak. And it sounds corny and it sounds a bit trainee, but that's really what it boils down to. So lots of different ways that how you can use tools to increase your wow factor. Okay. So people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Think about that, right? How did you make them feel? And if people make you feel good, then that's typically the type of people, the type of person, the type of situation that you want to be part of, or that you want to experience more of, right? So now, as a not yet realtor, if you wanted some homework, and I've kind of touched on it earlier, what I would strongly encourage you to think about and act upon is start paying attention to high quality services and resources that you've experienced. One of the things, I mean, we live in changing times, but one of the things that I'm noticing personally and on many levels is that I hear people talk about, for example, that the healthcare system is under delivering, and my personal experience is totally different. Right? My experience has been exceptional, as a matter of fact. On whether it is at hospitals, at emergency centers, and what have you, at testing facilities, my personal experience has been exceptional. Now, I'm not the most social person in the world, and I will call bad service when I see it. But, sometimes what people say and what the reality is doesn't necessarily line up. And it's interesting for you as an individual now becoming aware of how important customer service really is to distinguish yourself and distinguish between what is right, wrong, or indifferent, and how you would approach it as a business person going into this business going forward. And I hope that I'm making some inroads in your thought process as to you're not necessarily doing it for yourself, although the outcome is for yourself, but your approach is really to serve others, right? Your approach, your state of mind, your psychological approach to all of this is really about, doing the right thing for other people, helping them to get where they want to be. And in return, and by reciprocity, if you want to call it that, it almost makes people compelled to also support you, right? And it's a really different feeling when that happens. It's not different in a historical and environmental and social context. Doing the right thing is for centuries has been seen as the way to really build and unite rather than divide, right? And today that's probably even more important than it's ever been in the past. So anyway, adding a wow factor to everything that you do in your life, everything that you do in your business will make a huge difference how they feel, which in turn it makes a huge difference how you will feel about what you're doing, how you're doing, and what this business can provide for you. So I hope this was informative and helpful to you. And if you have any questions, please reach out. Be my pleasure to assist. And all the best, and have a fantastic week.
File saved. The Agent Files. For more missions, agents' tools and tactical strategies. Subscribe and follow the Agent Files, powered by Agent Builder Coaching. Until next time, stay sharp. Your next mission awaits.